Okay, and for Malika Andrews, we start the show with a developing story. Jimmy Butler got undercut on a rebound late in the first quarter versus the Rockets game 2 and did not return to the game with a pelvic contusion. Steve Kerr said that after the game, the MRIs were scheduled for this morning. So for the injury update, we now welcome in our senior NBA insider, Shams Charania. Shams, what more can you tell us about Jimmy's status?
Shanae, so after the game last night, I'm told Jimmy Butler was walking on his own power, but he was walking very gingerly. And x-rays taken at the Rockets arena were negative, but the Warriors are expecting a much clearer picture of Jimmy Butler's what looked like a tailbone injury, a pelvic injury. They expect more answers and clarity later today when he undergoes an MRI. But there is clear concern within the Warriors because even a deep contusion in that area typically leads to at least some days, some time that you're going to need. So what will that MRI show? What treatments will he need? Will he be able to make it back with a couple of days here in between games with rest before Game 3 on Saturday? But one thing I can say, Shanae, we've seen Jimmy Butler play through ankle sprains. Last year, he played 3 quarters on a grade 2 MCL sprain in his knee. But this is the second straight year he's had a player collide with him on an injury in the playoffs. We'll see just how long he could be out. This is a Warriors team that's 25-8 with him and 25-27 without him.
Yeah, an unfortunate, situation for Jimmy Butler. This could honestly dictate the series, his health status. Thank you so much, Shams. We'll be in contact as this story continues to develop. So Jimmy Butler, he got hurt early, but honestly, it might have still been the Rockets' night. Houston was ready for liftoff, and that started from the jump with their physicality on Steph Curry. Houston was able to look at them swarm, limit Steph Curry to 20 points on 6 of 15 shooting. Curry was contested on 1.6 players. That's how many were at him, and this was Steph on that defense.
First defender, there's going to be another wave of defenders, collapsing, trying to take away a lot of the off-ball stuff, which we know is our kind of pet actions to get me, free if they're going to trap the ball screens and all that.
While Steph Curry struggled, y'all, Jalen Green was shining. Will Bond.
He didn't struggle. All that stuff about 5 points a game for the last month, not last night.
Yeah, after just 7 points on 3 of 15 shooting in Game 1, he would turn it around for Game 2. He became the youngest player in Rockets history to record a 35-point game in the playoffs, passing Hakeem Olajuwon, who's there courtside, who had that record for nearly 40 years. And you guys, this was the highlight of the night. The dunk, the takeaway, Ramona.
Oh my gosh, this is what he should be in the dunk contest just on that alone.
I've been saying that all year long, but look at the numbers. His takeoff, 9 feet 10 inches. His vertical, 31. And his speed through the rim, 32.7 miles per hour. A straight, you know how they say it in the South, athlete. Now heading to the fourth quarter, Mark Spears. Underneath, there's a foul. Things got chippy, but first, the Rockets and fans, they had some thoughts on Draymond.
It's not really an original. Can't steal other people's. That belongs to Boston.
He loves that, though. He loves that.
That's
some affection is the way he looks at it.
A huge night for Jalen Green, and the Rockets take Game 2, 109-94. And Jalen Green became the youngest Rockets player again with a 35-point game in franchise postseason history. And he did so after scoring just 7 points in Game 1. That 31-point increase is the largest by a player from their first to second career playoff games in NBA history. Now, it's no secret that this series will look a whole lot different if Jimmy Butler misses any time. But Wilbon, just how detrimental could this be for the Warriors?
If he misses a lot of time, like more than 2 games, it's a wrap for the Warriors. Look, there's so many numbers are nonsense most of the time. Let's cut to one that matters. Record of 25-27 is what the Warriors were. It's not a small sample size before Jimmy Butler got there. That's 11th place. That's play-in. They're a completely and utterly different team. They know. They're not unaware of this. And so that is what led Draymond Green to say, we win a championship now with Jimmy Butler. Without, they're likely to go home. Now, if they can get a split in those 2 games in San Francisco and they can get Jimmy Butler back, if he has to miss time. Knowing Jimmy Butler, I don't know that he's going to miss it. But he's got to be really himself, Shanae. You know what I mean? So if they can get him back in a split, in a 2-2 series, we know they can win in Houston. but his health is paramount.
Yeah, it absolutely is paramount. And if you think about it, the Warriors, you mentioned the schedule. There were 2 games under 500 this season before acquiring Butler and in games that he missed. But after the trade, they won 75% of their games with Jimmy. So he will be crucial. Now, the Warriors, they had to use some lineups that normally they wouldn't due to Butler's injury and also Podziemski's his sickness. So let's get to our front office insider, Bobby Marks, to break down what are the Warriors' options moving forward.
Well, this is the lineup when Jimmy Butler's healthy, and as Michael said, the record speaks for itself here as far as the impact that Jimmy Butler had. Here's the group over here that you're basically pulling from if Jimmy Butler can't play, or even if he's limited. I think the guy that we're certainly going to keep an eye on is Jonathan Kuminga, right? If Jimmy Butler can't play, how do they get his confidence back? How do they get to the Jonathan Kuminga of old? But here's the concern. These are the 2 games so far. Minus 14 points per 100 possessions with Jimmy Butler off the court. Here's what we watch. The beauty with Jimmy Butler is the non-Steph Curry minutes. When Butler is on the court and Curry isn't. This is game 1, +7. Here's game 2, minus 12. So what happens if Butler can't play? Is Curry going to be playing 40, 42 minutes a night? You're going to need a Superman human effort from him. That's the biggest concern for me, is those non-Curry minutes and who basically fills those.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bobby, because the non-Steph Curry and potentially Jimmy Butler minutes, a lot of people, Ramona, might be looking at Jonathan Kuminga, but he's in an awkward situation, knowing that going into the playoffs, it wasn't really clear whether he would be a key factor. I think people know he probably was not going to be designed when 100% to be on the floor, but now he has a bigger role.
I mean, today, you're a player. When your coach comes to you before the series and says, I don't know if there's going to be a big role for you. Like, that's hard to internalize, especially for a young player as talented as Jonathan Kuminga. We know how much money he said no to at the beginning of the season. He has an opportunity to go look elsewhere in the offseason if he wants to get a bigger deal. But he has not been able to share the court very well with Jimmy Butler this year. They take up the same space. They haven't played well together. If Jimmy Butler's not able to go, and by the way, Steph Curry and Jonathan Kuminga both had this kind of an injury. Steph missed 2 games with it. Kuminga missed 1. So, Wilbon, what you're talking about of how much time he might miss, that's kind of what we're looking at. How do you, as Jonathan Kuminga, in this situation, go from your coach telling you may not be that involved to now we absolutely need you?
The bag. He wants to get the bag. That's his motivation. Got to let it go. Forget feelings at this point. You know, Jonathan Kuminga actually perhaps played his best basketball of the season against the Rockets. He averaged 21 points per game. He actually had 33 points in 1 game against them. So, also, when you look at that stat about what the record is without Jimmy Butler, Kuminga missed a lot of those games too. He's got to shake it off. He's got to play. He brings some athleticism that the Warriors need in this series. So, hey, JK, you want to play and you want the bag, this is your time. But let me tell you this real quick. There is some hope, though. Bernie Lee, Jimmy Butler's agent, texts me saying, pray for the bear. That tells me that's some optimism for Jimmy.
Well, listen, there better be some optimism expressed somewhere else as it relates to Kuminga, and that's with Steve Kerr.
Yeah.
Don't forget, I mean, I know, Steve, we look at the roster, and coaches don't lengthen rosters in the playoffs unless they have to. Steve Kerr played for Greg Popovich and Phil Jackson at times where they had to go to say to somebody after an injury or someone was slumping in that lineup, hey, I need you to be out there now. Don't forget what I told you on the eve of the series. We got to go to you. We're bringing you from the bullpen.
That's all nice. That's all fine. That's all dandy. But shouldn't there be optimism for the winners? Let's get back to the winners, because a big reason the Rockets were able to walk away.
Where are you from again?
From Houston. Okay. A big reason they're able to walk away with a win is because of Jalen Green. And here's what he had to say about his Game 2 turnaround.
That first game, you know, the lights were bright. The crowd was here. The court looked huge. So, yeah, I couldn't really get a chance to, you know, settle in. My legs was a little shaky, but you know, that's part of it. Went through it, and you know, I feel like I did a good job answering back.
The player in me, when I heard that, got chills. Because that's a level of vulnerability that you're giving people to what that moment meant for him in Game 1, but also what it meant to bounce back in Game 2. So shout out to Jalen Green for giving us the truth there. Now, Wilbon, you said yesterday that this would be a dominating performance by the Rockets. So is it hard being right all the time?
No. But wait. Did he predict the Jimmy injury, though?
No, I don't have to. What? What did I say in that text to you last night after that? The Rockets were going to win that game last night, regardless. They were down when Jimmy went out, and God knows, Jimmy Butler's been one of my favorite players for his whole career, and I want to see him back in there. The Rockets were going to win that game. The Rockets are in a similar situation, and we'll get to them in a minute, as the Pistons. Those first games when you are together as a group where the lights are too bright, first of all, that was just, you mentioned expressing vulnerability. That was truth or facts, as they say now.
Big facts, actually.
That's what that was.
100.
And so they got over that last night. And I thought it was Sengun, so I wasn't right. I said Sengun's going to have 35 and 15. He got the 15, but it was Jalen Green with the 35 plus. The Rockets have that capability. And that's where Kuminga comes in.
Yeah.
Again, he's got some athleticism. He can go eye to eye with those guys. Well, I don't know how many Warriors can do that otherwise.
But I don't know if it's eye to eye or hand to hand, fist to fist.
Jump to jump.
Let's get back to the physicality of the series, because Ramona, it felt like at times we were watching a little bit of the WWE, a lot of this enhanced drama.
Okay.
How do you see this series really playing out if this style of physicality continues?
I'm getting ready for a lot of talk out of Golden State about how Steph Curry has taken 6 free throws in these 2 games. 6 free throws, that's it. So now so we've seen the action on the court. We're about to hear from Steve Kerr and the Warriors and everybody about, we're going to just hear some politicking. That's Steph Curry out there that you're wrestling the ball with. That's Steph Curry out there who wants a